right up there with rejection, objections are perhaps one of the biggest sources of fear, or certainly biggest source of frustration for salespeople. And the truth is, it should be the exact opposite. You see, objections can be your biggest buying signal. And when you understand the beauty inside them, you can greatly increase your closing ratio and your sales. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 insights that can help you do exactly that. Let's check it out. In my book, Jumping Off the Hamster Wheel, in the section on growth, we talk about the 6 key drivers for growing your top and bottom line of your business. And one of those key drivers is conversion rate. That's helping people to buy your product or service. One of the reasons people don't buy is because there's some things inside their head that come out as objections in the sales process. So when we can understand how to unlock that and think about it differently and have some tools around it, obviously we can increase that conversion rate. Now in the book, I don't go into detail on objection handling, so I'm going to talk a bit about here in this video. Firstly, think about this. What if you could overcome 20% of all the objections you're currently getting? Now, let's look at a scenario here. Let's say your current closing ratio is 50%. If you could overcome 20% of your objections, you'd immediately grow your top line by 10% and possibly your bottom line by even more. So the beautiful thing about overcoming objections or learning how to manage them is that they cost you absolutely nothing to do. And it can just be some immediate low-hanging fruit to massively increase your sales and your profitability. So the 3 things we're going to talk about. Number 1 is firstly your mindset around objections. If you sit there and you have a sense of fear or worry that someone's going to bring an objection up, you're in a defensive position. And when those objections do come up, you're probably going to freeze a little bit, or you're going to think, no, they came up. You're sitting there hoping they're just going to say yes. And then one of these, dreaded objections come up. You're not setting yourself up into being in a position of power to still facilitate making the sale. So we've got to change the way we think about that. And the way we do is that we've got to understand that people only object to things if they're interested. If they weren't interested, they wouldn't object. They just wouldn't give you any kind of feedback. An objection is someone telling you what is it that's in the way of them buying what it is that you're presenting to them. And when we have that mindset around it, that we see that objection as a gift because it's giving us a clue, it's pointing us in the right direction to help make a sale, then we can almost be eager for an objection. And in point number 3, I'm going to share with you why or how you can minimize some of those objections, but just getting around that thinking of an objection as a part of the sales process, and now it's your job as a salesperson, given this piece of information in the form of an objection, now it's your job to be creative in terms of how you change that person's perspective so they can understand that objection is not really valid and your solution or product or whatever you're offering is the thing they need to help solve their problem. Point number 2 is understanding what is the real objection that somebody's giving you. Often people will throw out an objection because it might be an easier way to deflect the sales process or this interaction of selling, and they may not be comfortable giving you what the real objection is. And a couple of things I'm going to share with you around this. One is you can try and isolate the objection, and that might look like, let's say, the classic one, someone says price is the problem. You might say, so if we can find a way to get around this price problem, then you'd be happy to move ahead. Is that right? So, assuming that if they say yes to that, now you've isolated that one problem, or you might start to see a bit of a balk or a change in body language at that might give you a clue there's something else behind their thinking. The other component you might want to think about here is that sometimes, and this can be a hard one to take on board, but sometimes the problem might be you or your company or your product, that someone doesn't feel confident or doesn't feel comfortable giving you that direct feedback. So the one you can probably control the most is you. Think about your likability factor. Are you a person that someone gravitates to, and do you build rapport easily with people, or have you built rapport throughout your sales process? How do you build trustworthiness? How do you show proof of success working with other people, that other people have bought your product or service? This is perhaps, as I said, the one that is most inside your control, and one that can have an unfair advantage in terms of moving the sale in your direction. What I mean by that is people will often make decisions in spite of better judgment for someone they like or someone they trust. And I'm not suggesting this should be a secret weapon that you use to get people to buy things that they shouldn't buy, but the likability factor and your level of rapport with people will have a direct correlation to the ease with which you're able to make sales. And point number 3 is know your objections and build them into your sales process. What I mean by that is, in any sales situation, all objections that you get can usually be boiled down to within 7 major categories. And once you understand what they are, there might be some that you just can't do anything about, but there's probably, within those 7, there's probably 3 or 4 that you can absolutely, 90% of the time overcome. And sometimes we can build those into our sales process. So say, for example, your product was really expensive. Find a way to position that up front and build that as a feature. Or let's say that you couldn't get your product for a long time, there's a long waiting period. Again, find a way to position that as being a benefit to the customer. You might base that around popularity. Everybody wants this thing, so it takes a long while to get. Or if there's a significant downside or weakness in your product, find a way to reposition that as a strength. So get creative with how you do it, and recognize that most sales are not just down to that one moment where someone has to say yes or no. There's usually a lead up. There's normally certain stages in your sales process that you've got opportunities to build a relationship, build rapport, and position different things that may be objections throughout the sales process, so that someone can warm up to the idea and rethink about it in the way they need to, so it's not such a big deal when the time comes to make that decision to move forward or not. All right, so there we have it. You've got 3 insights or tools or ways to think about objections that you can start to practice and play with. So you've got to build your own toolkit. Obviously your business is going to be different to somebody else who's watching this video, and the way you apply what I've talked about is going to be unique to you, but you've got to get creative. Don't sit there and say, oh Jamie, that stuff doesn't work in my business. Of course it does. You've got to find a way to make it work. And if you are curious on, I mentioned that the conversion rate is one of the 6 key drivers. If you'd like to know the other 5 key drivers, check out the book, Jumping Off the Hamster Wheel, How to Build a Business So You Can Sleep at Night. It's got lots of great stuff in there that can help you build a better business and have a better life. Thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, we'd love to have them down below. And of course, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can find more great videos just like this one. Speak to you later.